one of the things that you really need to do is move more often. My guest on Inspiring Talk Stories today is the lovely Rory Lemon, who is an osteopath based in Brighton. And he's going to come and talk to us today about having a healthy action mindset. So, Rory, it's really great to have you here today. It's lovely to see you. It's a blue day outside, so we're inside in our Zoom rooms. So, I know that you and I have got sort of a similar-ish background, osteopath, and I do craniosacral therapy, which is similar. But tell me, what do you mean by healthy action mindset? What does that mean to you?
Well, over the last, quite a few years now, after developing sort of the general practice of osteopathy, that you can do without the hands-on side of things, because that's often squeezed into the end of a session. And actually sometimes for that, I think that more and more recent people are realizing that chronic conditions, you need a lot more of the what can you do for yourself outside of that time. So that you get treatment, which is great, and that's really important for some people, and for most people, every now and again we need something to help us along. But what if that's not around? What if we especially right now, there's a lot more people in isolation, a lot more stress and tension, which could be pushing them towards something more chronic related. Could not be. It's hard to say what actually. There's so many factors to health and what causes chronic conditions, and the medical industry is not as great at looking at that side of things. They're much better at emergency. I'm not saying it's one thing or the other. And there's the medical attention, which is very important for in the moment stuff, nailing down to what they can do to help in the moment, which is really important. And then there's the chronic areas, which to be honest with you, I just feel like isn't looked into enough. So what is it that causes or helps us to be more healthy? And it's often our attitudes and habits. So yeah, healthy action mindset is to look into and delve into. There's actually building blocks that you can go back to really look at how to and people think, I don't want to change my beliefs or anything, but actually if you just look at your attitude and realize that what your choices might be doing to you or for you, whether they're taking you down a better route or a less healthy route. So it's
really interesting, because I think what you were saying as well is that the chronic condition that has occurred has happened because lots of different things have sort of built it up, and it's almost like the chronic condition is like the symptom. And what you were talking about really here is unpicking it back down to the cause of that symptom, and looking at dealing with that, as well as the hands-on approach, osteopathy, chiropractic work, any of that is fantastic. But I completely agree with you. There's sometimes you have to sort of step back from that and look at other things that can be done. So tell me a little bit more about, so what are the things that people can do? Because you're talking about people being able to help themselves, but not necessarily on your own. You're still, as a therapist, helping them with that. So what are the sorts of things that you would suggest?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd just like to break down what healthy action is, which is healthy action in itself is a conscious choice to improve your well-being. Say, for instance, that can be not just going to the gym or picking an exercise to better your situation, but even just like choices to eat some healthy food rather than some food isn't so great for you, and breaking it down so that you understand why, to stop yourself and just reflect on, so helping to just stop for a moment and reflect on and pause. It's almost like that, sort of a little bit touching on the cognitive behavioral therapy side of things, which is all about recognizing your emotion, to stop yourself from going towards things that I want to make myself feel better, and is that thing that I'm doing making myself feel better? Is it actually better for me as well? So it's knowing that and separating the two things to sort of understand that, and beyond that, I think it's about breaking down, because I'm doing a running a course starting on Sunday. It's launching on Sunday, and it's about discovering your healthy action mindset. So that's all about, again, my first question is, as soon as we get going with that course, and the first module is what's better, or what's more, what stands out to you? Is it getting moving that you're that's more influential, or would you like to do more? Or is it the remembering to do healthy actions? Or is it the motivation? Are you struggling with motivation? Or is it a mindset? And actually, all of those things, if you haven't heard of or broken those down into those building blocks, you might think that they're all the same, but they're actually very different. Not very different, they all interrelate, and they all sort of interrelate with each other, but there's different ways of tackling all those three different things.
Yeah,
And
it's pulling it apart, isn't it? And it's like you talking about that example of wanting something that's going to make you feel better. So you might, if you're a bit stressed out, you might reach for that glass of red wine because you know that it's going to make me feel better, and I'm going to enjoy it. But actually, when you're consciously aware of, or perhaps that one glass of red wine is going to lead to a bottle of red wine, or maybe in a bottle of half of red wine, and if you did that every night consistently, that's going to have a really big impact on your health, isn't it?
yes, it's realizing the accumulations of things. It's not necessarily worrying about what's bad or good in the moment that's helpful. So it's, again, bringing back positivity to it and going, actually, you know um and also looking at proactive reflection, I like to call it, as well. And that's, again, all comes back down to mindfulness.
Yeah.
So mindfulness can be put on a pedestal as a thing that you have to learn to do as a skill, which it does. It takes time, but it's in every single thing that we do if we just stop and feel. So that's why I often am coming back down to, again, as well, is there's the practical techniques in the course, and other things are all sort of what you can do for your mind to help it just stop for a moment, and what that does to your body too, because there's neurological changes in that moment that actually help you to feel safe and regulated, for instance. Rather than sort of alert, watching out around you, you come back to listening to your body, and it's as simple as that. And actually, often these techniques they're all really simple things, but we're so bombarded by stuff, by information, and what to do, and whether this is good or bad for us, and it's all polarized quite often.
Mm.
And actually, it's more simple than that. We can actually, if we just stop for a moment and just be told to stop, and then get given a little bit of encouragement. So yeah, again, doesn't have to think of it as a life coach as such, but just a phase coach, let's just say. Just again, it's like you go for a treatment, and then you might need a few more. It's like a management plan for that.
Yeah.
And it's the idea is it's a finite amount of time. We don't want it to be ongoing, unless it's something you're really struggling with, or it becomes more like a coping strategy. But it's that thing of just being a little bit drip fed of the simple things that knowing why it's good can really help that motivation too.
Yeah, and I think I just touch on what you said about being told to stop. I think actually we need to let people understand that they are allowed to stop. And I think probably, in my experience of the whole COVID situation that we've been dealing with this year, is that suddenly people had to stop, because they didn't have any choice.
Yeah.
It was suddenly like, well, you can't go to work, you can't go out. All you can do is go out and actually smell the roses, because they were beautiful this year. I think it's really interesting, isn't it, how people are starting to look at their lives and go, well, hang on a minute, I don't really like the person that I've become. I don't like the way my body feels. I don't like the way my brain is constantly on the go,
Mm.
and having that consciousness to be able to go, okay, so what do I need? So this sounds like the work that you are doing is really going to help people.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. It's been helping me as I go along as well, because I had to really go on the computer just to I was doing lots of work, just a bit more static. So again, it's not like I worry about whether I'm being too static or not. It's that realizing that going down to being static, it slows ourselves down, and it's that accumulation you were talking about that we want to make sure we're accumulating or balancing along the way, and doing enough to counterbalance the sedentary stuff we're doing on computers. Because it's a lot of work to get online and tell people to get offline and get online with themselves.
Offline, online, offline. Yes. So tell me, it must have been challenging for you, because obviously osteopath, you're hands-on, you're in close proximity with people. So how has that been for you and your healthy action mindset? Tell us a bit more about that, because you've obviously learned a lot through this period.
Yeah, I've really sort of had to. I literally couldn't do any work for any physical work. The two little clinics that I was working with shut down, so it really did. It's bottlenecked me into doing something that I'm really passionate about anyway. So I've sort of taken it as an opportunity, really, and yeah, I mean, I worked with the practical side of things for years and years before I even became an osteopath. I was massage therapist and studying lots of different types of massage, and really into that. And it was very intuitive, because you're not really connecting with or helping people with their health issues as such. You're just seeing what works and helping them to, and at the end of the day, it's the kind of stuff that people need anyway, is to reduce the stress and reduce the tension, and see whether whether it was that was affecting it or not. As well. Yeah, basically the sort of taking it as a kind of blessing, as it were, just to step back. And yeah, like you said, the whole thing about everyone else having to do that is just shows that sign of the times, that maybe we're running on a global sort of tension and stress that's showing up through it's hard to say what's going on at points, because we're all just trying to work out what's actually happening and what isn't, at the moment. But the whole sort of, it does make me think, is this a sort of calling card for doing something about this situation, and sharing as much as we can about what we can do for ourselves? Because as soon as we give ourselves the energy, then we've got energy to give, and all that sort of stuff too. Whereas everyone's just giving out, trying to, it's that thing of, I struggle for ages trying to think, I've got to get work, I've got to do this, and you're sort of tense whilst you're doing it. And potentially things, you can be more efficient if you just stop and not think about it for a moment, and then just know what to do with less time, in ways as well. So I'm hoping, yeah, I'm certainly hoping it's going to help a lot of people to realize what's possible. And it's not there to say hands-on treatment, you don't need it. I'm not saying that at all, and I'm not saying you don't need medical attention. I'm just saying there's a thing that's missing potentially.
Yeah, there definitely. I completely agree with you. There is, and it's difficult to somehow put it into words. And because when you talk about holistic, you talk about mindset, mindfulness, and all that, people are like, well, what is that? But I think you're absolutely right. There are other things that it's, for me, I look at it, it feels like we're almost going back to the roots of being human. We've created this world that is so like boom, 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 100 miles an hour the whole time, and we don't even have a chance to look left or right. And it's almost like this has put the brakes on, and it's allowing us to actually slow down. And that comment about stopping, people are scared of stopping. And I know for me, running a business, being a single mum, stopping for me is scary because it feels like it's all going to fall down, it's all going to crumble and go blah, blah, blah. But actually I definitely have learned, and I think you, from your experience, what you were saying is to be able to stop, it gives you that space, doesn't it? It gives you that headspace to go, okay, so okay, I can really see what's going on around me now.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like a holiday. It doesn't have to be something you put on a pedestal that you spend a lot of time being stressed about trying to do the holiday thing. We're talking about 90 seconds every, you know, three times a day, and maybe 5 minutes of a more movements kind of thing, or building towards a 20-minute, 30-minute, sort of building your stamina for it where possible, because you'll really get your energy back for handling the stuff next. As well. That's what I think too. And it's
moving from, if you're working on a particular thing and you're working on it, to then go straight into working into something else, you haven't had that time to sort of just let go of the reins of the other thing before you get on the other horse. It's like actually having that time to just, drink a cup of tea or go for a walk, or like you say, jump up and down and do a bit of stretching or something. It's amazing how different it is then when you do the next thing, because you're fully there, aren't you? You're fully aware.
Yeah, and it also it makes you a bit more, hopefully, a bit more sort of appreciative of surroundings and other things, and potentially the space to not be pressured into thinking you're on your own, or basically creating a there is global empathy with the fact that we can see what else is going on in the world now, way beyond, well, just about nearly everything. We can check out what's going on in any country at any time, but it can also just look like, again, a struggle, whereas hopefully this global empathy is going to reach out. So it's about looking after yourself and looking after the globe.
Yeah, cool. So if people want to get a hold of you, Rory, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Facebook page. I've got my profile, specific profile, Rory Lemon Aid, AID, on Facebook, and that's my profile or my page. They're both there. There's also where else am I? I've got a website called lemonaid.xyz, and that's, you can get in touch there. Then I'm happy to answer any questions about the course, and there's still quite a few. There's a few places left before it starts on Sunday as well. So
the 1st of November, because obviously people might be watching this at different times. That's the 1st of November 2020. But this is a program that you've designed that is going to be available. Again, it's not just a standalone course you'll run once, you'll run it again.
I'll run it again, but it's an event, because people will put it off. It's the same thing as anything. If we don't have a time where it's like, it's like going to see a band play, or an act, or a show. They're there because they come to you for then, and you go and see them. And if that mentality doesn't come about with online stuff, if it's on all the time, it's left up to randomness as to whether you'll get into doing it. And you need, if you do need it, then you need to take that time to decide.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just was mentioning it because obviously some of our listeners might be watching this 6 months down the line, and they might go, oh, I really wish I'd done that program. So
of course, yeah. So and drop me a line, and we can always find out when it's going to happen again. So Rory Lemonade, you'll find me on the internet.
I wasn't sure when we first met. I was like, is this surname Lemonade or is it just Lemon? So Rory Lemon. So thank you so much. It's been really fantastic talking to you. I wish you all the very best with this new world that you're going into with osteopathy and helping people with their healthy action mindset.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers,
so,
Lisa.
I've been Lisa Moore from Inspiring Towards Brighton Stories. Just a quick shout out to anybody who is interested in coming and either giving a speech or doing what we've done today, which is more of an interview. Let me know, because I would love to have you on the show. and we will be back again very soon.